What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Yesterday, the Crimson Desert situation got absolutely crazy. One, with the effects from the Metacritic scores on the company's value itself, and two, when the game launched and what exactly was happening with the sales and people playing. It's kind of all over the place. We're going to go over that, though, here today. Also, we are going to be talking about that Switch 2 boost mode once again, as there are a lot of positives, of course, coming out of it. There's also one pretty big drawback that's now at least been measured to a degree that we can look at, and we have some news coming out of Ubisoft. This for a storied studio has worked on many franchises there, taking a bit of a backseat, which is kind of a shame when you start to remember some of the games that they had worked on even 20 years ago. All of that and more. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button. Helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. Guys, we're every weekday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, going over the world of gaming news, trying to keep you up to date. So just know, even if you don't get a video notification, there's probably still one to check out here in the morning. And we're going to start today with some movie crossing over with gaming news, and that actually has to do with the new Spider-Man trailer, Spider-Man Brand New Day. Now, that went out, and it was kind of this marketing strategy where they showed clips of the trailer and then just released the entire trailer like the next day. But the big news here is it has actually eclipsed the previous record holder for entertainment with views for a product, and that was GTA 6. And it actually eclipsed it by quite a margin. You can see this, though. This is over on IGN, saying Spider-Man Brand New Day beats GTA 6 record after trailer pulls 718 million views in 24 hours. That's almost 250 million more views than GTA 6. Now, look, GTA 6 still super hyped up. Obviously, I think when they start showing more trailers, we'll probably, and as we get closer to release, we'll probably see more and more excitement and a bunch of views. I don't know if it's going to get to this level. This is actually kind of crazy. And I know there's also a lot of build up for the MCU with their big movie towards the end of this year with Doctor Doom and everything, but Spider-Man, it's popular. And yeah, something tells me this movie's probably going to do really, really well, especially since people are analyzing and zooming in on all the different frames for the trailer. It's going to do big numbers at the box office. But the trailer itself, I think it looks really interesting. I'm curious about the direction for Peter, and I think some of the other characters that haven't been shown yet that seem to really lean into the idea of mutation. So interesting stuff we'll see as we go into the summer. Also, we did get a release date for Kenna Bridge of Spirits for the Switch 2. We can see this on the Nintendo Store. It is coming out March 26th, so yeah, pretty soon, next week. All right, so we got a week from now, we'll have Kenna Bridge of Spirits out. And in fact, right now, it's 20% off, coming in at a sale price of $32. It says the sale will be running till April 3rd. So the game's going to come out, and then even after about a week or so, it'll at least be marked down 20%, which, I mean, that's a nice bonus, of course. The game is good, though. If you haven't played it before, I do recommend it. I'm sure people still want to kind of hang out a bit here and just, see how performance is, how visuals are, and everything on the Switch too. While I think it's a good-looking game, it wasn't the most taxing game I've ever seen, say, on the PlayStation when it came out there on the PS5. So I feel like this will do pretty well. But if you've been curious about it, it's definitely one I think worth checking out when it releases a week from now. Oh, and Shenmue fans, I have some great news. Shenmue 3 Enhanced Edition. It is coming out, and we actually got a release date or a release trailer for it, you can see here. Now, we're still waiting for the release date. This seems to be their release pre-order trailer. It is coming to PC, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and Switch 2. Bit of a surprise here, the Switch 2 version will be available as a full physical cartridge release. I mean, look, anytime you see a game come out that's a game key card, go, hold on a minute. Shenmue 3 is on the cartridge. Why isn't this game? I think that's a great argument that no one will be able to fight back against. But anyway, enhanced graphics and performance, 4K texture uplift. They'll also be utilizing DLSS and FSR support. The good DLSS, increased NPC density, classic camera mode, gameplay tweaks, improved interactions, menu enhancements, and more. So we don't have a release date yet for this enhanced edition. They seem to say in the coming weeks we'll get a release date for it. But I know Shenmue 3 wasn't exactly the most popular game in the Shenmue fandom, and I guess the idea is someday they'll make more Shenmue games, and this legitimately might be part of that roadmap, so they can get some money to make the next ones. We'll see. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Crimson Desert and all the fallout that was happening. Of course, when the Metacritic score went live, it was first at a 77, then it made its way up to a 78, which is where it's still sitting at the time of this recording. It could still fluctuate, of course, in the future, but that may be more so on maybe if PlayStation 5 or Xbox reviews start coming in, as just about all of them are around PC at this time. Well, we've talked about before, does Metacritic really matter that much? I mean, look, it's just a score, and you can still buy games if the score is bad. You can pass on games if they're good. Really, it comes down to what each reviewer says about their experience, more so than that arbitrary number that they end up having to publish to go along with that. Well, yeah, it turns out Metacritic does have real-world ramifications, like significant ones, because as soon as the reviews went live, check this out. Now, this is over on the Korean Stock Exchange, and Pearl Abyss got hammered. I mean, it's a straight line down, which is crazy. And then if you look over the 5-day period, so we can go back to exactly when their stock plummeted, it's down 33%. And even after that, it dipped again. It's starting to tick back up. And honestly, it's just oversold at this point, I would assume, because at the end of the day, it comes down to how much money can you make, not necessarily how high of a review score can you put out there. Now, look, if the review score was better, I'm sure the stock wouldn't have dropped as much, if at all. It might have just, like, this thing came out and it was an 88 or a 90. It probably would have stayed the course here with its stock value and may have even gone up from there. And while I know gamers don't necessarily care about stocks or anything like that, it's something to keep in mind that, yes, Metacritic can legitimately affect things. And it's not even necessarily just, say, a company's valuation at the stock market. It could also come down to bonuses for some of the developers that work there. We've heard in the past that, yes, studios from publishers can actually have their bonuses be affected by that. If you get a certain score, you get more money. If not, you can try again next time, right? So here now that we go into release, and people were still kind of curious because this has caused all kinds of discourse online, back and forth as to if the game is good, if it's bad, and 97% of people arguing haven't even played the game yet. But it's more about interpretation of those review scores and if they're still going to stick with a pre-order or play the game at launch. Turns out a lot of people still wanted to play the game at launch because you can see over on SteamDB, again, this game just came out a few hours ago at the time of this recording, and it peaked right at 239,000 players. This is on a Thursday night, so you still wonder about like the weekend or so, and even then it dipped down a bit from there. I am curious because you see the reviews right now are like 62% or something, and some are just people saying, hey, the game, it's not running great for me. It's kind of blurry. There's this issue with the option, the controls. That's going to come down to, of course, on the technical side, more about maybe the PC configuration or the specifications that one person has. I will tell you this. I've played now 2 hours of the game. The controls are amazing. It's impressive because they're stacking controls on top of controls right now. They have a lot of ideas, Pearl Abyss, for this game. And the controller just doesn't have enough buttons, I feel like, to accommodate all of their ideas to where if you want to do one action, you press the button. If you want to do another action, you press and hold the button. And so they have like an ultra hand ability, and you have to click it down R3 and L3, and it's kind of all over the place. It really is like a spider web right now when you look at the controller and they try to tell you everything that's on there. But the one egregious thing I've noticed so far with the controls, click L3 to crouch. I mean, what is that? That's strange to me. Now, I will say pressing cross to run right now on the PlayStation 5 Pro is where I started it up. Yeah, it's fine. That's what you've been doing with GTA and stuff in the past. That didn't really come out of left field, but the click L3 to crouch is just... it's just kind of gross. So other than that, though, I will say it's very impressive in terms of how it looks at this time, even on the PS5 Pro, not on like a nice souped up PC or anything. And it seems like it's a lot of freedom here. And this is just in the very initial area in town. I did jump off of a high point in like the skies. That was kind of cool. It was Tears of the Kingdom-esque. But at this time, I'm just kind of wandering around. I am now at the open world area. So I think I'm going to jump over to a base PS5 and try it out and see how it runs from there in performance mode, because the PS5 Pro, from what I've seen for the first 2 hours, is holding up well enough. Still some like LOD popping and stuff with distant objects, but that's kind of expected with a lot of these big open world games now. And then it comes down to how long can the game really hold on to you for? Because if people played for 100+ hours and didn't beat the game with reviews, this might be one of those games that takes like a year to get through. But hey, I guess you'll at least get your money out of it. Next up, let's talk about that Switch 2 boost mode that's really been making the rounds this past week. People have been very excited to go back and try all kinds of Switch 1 games, myself included. It's been fun just to see how much better they look currently in handheld mode. And very, very quick here, the idea of boost mode is you run Switch 1 games with docked settings, so resolution at 1080p or maybe a higher frame rate or just better visual details that were typically cut back when put into Switch 1 handheld mode. So yes, because of this, 1080p matches up with the Switch 2 LCD display, also sitting at a 1080p resolution. But there is a bit of a drawback, and it's something that Nintendo themselves told us was a thing. When you go in there and turn it on, it tells you, hey, the system's probably going to pull more power, so your battery life will be going down. And I'm going to come back to that in a second with a question for everyone out there right now who has a Switch 2, but there's someone who did at least run a very quick test with this, and we can see. This is over on Reddit, the person saying this is how the handheld boost affects the battery playing Doom 2019. I mean, you can just say Doom Eternal. Okay, anyway, you go from 5 hours and 5 minutes to 3 hours and 43 minutes. They have a little timer there at the top, looks like on a different tablet. And I mean, that's a pretty big, I mean, it's like 25%. It's basically like a quarter, just about that you're losing here. And it's expected. So they ran this at 50% brightness and in airplane mode. If you're unaware, the Switch 2 has had this thing where if you want the battery to be longer in handheld mode, you put on airplane mode and it seems to increase battery life noticeably, I will say. So people may be wondering, how do they get 5 hours out of Doom 2019 on the Switch 2 in handheld mode? Well, that's mostly why. Lower in terms of brightness and then airplane modes. Even the same with boost mode. Still, I mean, getting 3.5 hours even, that's not bad, but it is lower. And here's the thing. I'm trying to think of Switch 1 games that had the worst battery life. Those are the ones I'm really curious to see how much that maybe pushes the Switch 2 with boost mode on. But I am also curious how many of you out there have been using boost mode on the Switch 2, just testing, trying out games, or maybe really jumping back into some for prolonged periods of time. Have you noticed the battery life being worse, like to the point where you're like, oh wow, man, I gotta charge this thing already? I don't remember being that short of a battery life. Let me know some examples of different games, maybe where, sure, it looks better, but you are sacrificing noticeable battery life. And I think, personally, it's worth sacrificing some of that battery life for a game that just looks much, much smoother on that 1080p display for the Switch 2. And the other thing is, it's optional. So let's say you're going to be away from maybe like an outlet or something to charge with, maybe battery banks on you, but you're going to be in the car for, 4 hours or so on a trip. You can just turn boost mode off and deal with the lower resolution, but still be able to play the game. So it's nice that it has that toggle on the fly. But again, let me know if there are any games that are really stressing the Switch 2 for you in boost mode. Next up, let's talk about news coming out of Ubisoft with a storied developer who's going to be taking a bit more of a backseat role within the company now. And we can see this is over on gamesindustry.biz. And they say, a source at Ubisoft has informed game industry that game development at the long-running North Carolina studio Red Storm Entertainment will cease with the loss of 105 jobs. The studio will remain open, but the work of the remaining employees will instead be focused on the Snowdrop engine along with IT and customer relations, so they are falling more into a support role. If they're not making games anymore, obviously, they don't need as many developers there. So yeah, loss of 105 jobs, just like that. And Red Storm Entertainment, you may recognize them because they've been at Ubisoft working on Tom Clancy's for a while. I mean, so many games coming out of there that you may remember early on. Tom Clancy's Ruthless.com. No, like Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six. Obviously, that Rogue Spear, Covert Ops, Urban Operations. They were throwing Rainbow Six games all over the place back in the day. But then you get like Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon. Anyone ever heard of that one? Island Thunder, Desert Siege, Ghost Recon 2, Jungle Storm, Lockdown. There were a lot, again, that were coming up. But even Advanced Warfighter 2. Here's the thing, though. Recently, they really haven't been doing much, okay? So they made Star Trek Bridge Crew. They made Assassin's Creed Nexus VR. They were working on a Splinter Cell VR game that got canceled. And then they were working on The Division Heartland, which also got canceled. And so they really haven't made any game outside of VR since, 2016, 2017. And they haven't really worked on a Tom Clancy's, say, Ghost Recon game since 2012. So, I mean, you'd like to think they could come up with a way for them to make a bit of a comeback there, do something they're more familiar with, but it sounds like because they're canceled projects, it was like, look, they're probably not going to be making anything anytime soon anyway, so let's just have them support on the Snowdrop engine, which is very important to Ubisoft right now, since it's their internal engine that they're trying to use as much as possible, and it's unfortunate. Again, a storied studio that's been around for a long time, made some awesome classic titles, now just kind of falling back into a support role without any real idea of games coming out of them for probably ever. This might actually be it for Red Storm. So unfortunate news there coming out of Ubisoft. Let me know what you think, though, especially if you were someone who enjoyed like those old school Ghost Recon games. Red Storm now mostly just working on the game engine. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about the Famitsu sales charts from this past week. This will show us the second week for Pacopia, and I guess an idea to see if the Switch 2 still has a lot of that momentum with what's now really a system seller for the game, especially in Japan. So we can see, this is over on install base forum, starting at the top with, yes, Pacopia, as expected, at the top, 117,000 copies. It's down 78%. We know that it sold through its initial allotment very, very quickly, and then even on top of that, more so. But now here we see Pacopia continuing along here, though, with 117,000. So I assume as they continue to stock this game going forward, it's going to really be selling still. So this is, we're going to see Pacopia, I figure, on the top 10 sales all year in Japan. Then right below that, we have Monster Hunter Stories 3. We have it on the Switch 2, and then on the PS5. The Switch 2, 37,000 copies of that. The PS5, 17,000. So we can already kind of see the Switch 2 taking over even with some of those third-party releases there. Resident Evil Requiem on the PS5, that's 12,787 copies. Then also on the PS5, Fatal Frame 2, that's the 12,115. Then we have Mario Kart World, Mario Tennis Fever, Fatal Frame 2 on the Switch 2, Animal Crossing New Horizons, then Animal Crossing New Horizons 2, that one on the Switch 2. Moving over to hardware, the Switch 2 is at the top, 96,950 units. Now at 4.8 million units, it's coming up on 5 million here very, very quickly. And I don't know, it's gonna be close if it's gonna get there before the end of the fiscal year. I assume Nintendo will have shipped more than 5 million units, probably even by now, into Japan. It's just more so selling through to customers there. Then we have the Switch 1, 19,941 copies, the PS5, 12,886, Xbox Series, 296, and the PS4 somehow, someway still sold 26 units. But as expected, Pacopia still rolling along, still selling Switch 2 systems with it, and this is what Nintendo has been really looking for to start the year, is a game that helps move units as that system seller. And Pacopia, especially when you see the second week and it's still over 100,000 units and talks about how it's still sold out everywhere, which I will say, when I go to Walmart or Best Buy in the last week, I haven't seen Pacopia in stock. So let me know down in the comments if you're seeing it in stock at some of these retail stores, like physically, even a game key card, is it actually on store shelves? Because I'm not seeing it. So I do think there is probably a sizable digital ratio, even in Japan, for this game, because it's just impossible to find. So you just go, you know what? I'll get the Switch 2 and just go ahead and buy and download the game at this point. But Pacopia is going to be here to stay for a while. I think this is one that's going to sell well into the future, probably years and years, and we'll eventually probably get to some massive milestone and be like, wow, none of us really saw that one coming. And before we go to the comment of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday. We're asked, are you picking up Crimson Desert? 18% say yes, 37% say maybe later if there's a sale, and then 45% say no. I have seen a lot of people go, maybe I'll just wait and see if, I don't know, months down the line, maybe Black Friday towards the end of the year, it's half off or something. And yeah, to me, that makes a lot of sense, especially for games, the big AAA games, $70. You really do have to think about it when you see that price tag. Like, it has to be a game that you know you're going to like, right away just about, and then get a lot of time out of. For the most part, I think there's still shorter experiences that can be worth the $70, obviously. Resident Evil Requiem, I think, is absolutely worth the money, and a playthrough of that does not take long. It's just going through it multiple times. Crimson Desert almost seems overwhelming, even for the $70, but I do see ways where people might be playing it and go, I don't really like this that much. And I think some of it will come back to the controls, but also some of the open-endedness of the open world to where it's not explained the best. Like, it's not as, you can say hand-holdy, but it's not as streamlined necessarily. It does leave a lot up to your interpretation to kind of figure out some of the quests. And for people out there who maybe don't have all the time in the world, go, you know what, this might not be for me. And we'll finish up with the comments of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from B Machine, who says, Crimson Desert looks like a game I would have much more appreciated on summer vacation as a teenager. Now the thought of tough puzzles, trying my patience at the end of a long day, just doesn't seem that appealing. That's what I mean, though. Crimson Desert is, you need patience. And you're right, if you were a teenager and you're looking at like 3 months of summer vacation or something in front of you, and you just got this game, yeah, it's going to fill up your entire summer and you're going to have a lot of fun just trying to figure things out on your own. And you're like, hey, you know what? I'll spend a couple hundred hours near because I got nothing else really to do at this point. Then yes, I think this really fits the bill well. But there are going to be many people who work all day, get home, deal with all kinds of stuff at home, and they have an hour to sit down, maybe less to play. I don't think Crimson Desert is going to fit in well for that one. Even just the tutorial alone, that's going to be multiple sittings for you in that scenario. So I kind of get it. It's like, I'll wait for a point in time where things line up and I have an extended period to play games. Maybe that's over so many weekends, or you just get some time off vacation or something, have a nice solid block a week. Okay, then maybe Crimson Desert would actually be good to start up. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed yesterday's Newswave, I'll leave it up here in a card. Or maybe you want to see some more testing for that Switch 2 boost mode. I did run a few tests and tried to zoom in as best as I could to show the differences in a video, and I'll leave that right below. Thanks, guys, for watching. Have a great weekend. I'll see you back here Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time for Newswave.